Cleric, Paladin, Sorcerer, Warlock. Cleric, Paladin, Sorcerer, Warlock. Cleric, Paladin, Sorcerer, Warlock.
Dude, what are you doing?
Oh, I was trying to decide what character class to play. I'm really wanting to do something divinely inspired, but 5th edition's got so many different options. I don't know what to do.
That's a great idea, Ted. We can make a character build for the holiest character in 5e D&D. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
You won't need the blessing of the gods to find D&D content if you hit that subscribe button.
But if you want Nerdarchy content delivered right to your inbox, like a regularly scheduled Sunday morning sermon, make sure you click that notification bell.
Alright, we're going to be making the most holy character that we can make. We're going to do it as a character build guide. So down in the description, you're going to find two things. You're going to find that character build guide. It's going to be over on the DM's Guild. You can download it for free. It's going to be pay what you want, or you can throw some change at your Witcher if you like. Also, what you're going to find is the character sheet that we're making over on D&D and Beyond. Now, at this point, it's only fair that we mention that D&D Beyond is a sponsor for the channel, and this video in particular. We love D&D Beyond. It makes making videos, researching content for our videos, but not only that, for our games, making our characters so much easier. It's a great resource for Dungeons & Dragons.
It's really a great resource, and you don't need, a subscription for everybody. You can go in together as a group, and you can have your DM create a campaign and then be able to share out that campaign link to the players, allowing the players to go in and create a character off of that campaign, getting access to everything that DM has. So you can definitely use it in awesome ways. I use it for creating characters. I use it for, planning and running my games. It's a super awesome tool. You definitely got to check it out.
There's also a ton of free content over there. They've got videos, they've got articles, everything in the SRD. We can't say enough about D&D Beyond. You'll find a link down in the description.
All right, so with that, we're going to dive into our character build guide, and we already said that we're going to make the holiest character. So where do you want to start, sir?
Well, I want to start by thanking Jesse James, who went in and did a request for a Celestial Warlock build over on Facebook. So this video is kind of inspired by that. We're probably not going to say 100% true to that request, but it did give me some ideas for the idea of, well, what are the divine characters, classes in Dungeons & Dragons, as well as races and backgrounds? What could we look at as far as building this character out? So you've got Cleric, obviously. You've got Paladin. There's even a Warlock and Sorcerer as well.
So like that you really have to stretch that out. The Divine Soul Sorcerer, that means that you have a celestial lineage to some certain degree, and enough so that you have magical powers, built into it. The Celestial Warlock is, you're making a pact with something that's not quite a deity, but is celestial and, potentially, a more positive bent. So that's 4 out of your typical 12, and we'll call it /13 character classes.
Now, I only think of one race when it comes to having a holy origin. Now, I don't think I'm missing any, but clearly the Aasimar, they are descendant of divine blood, of angels, so clearly they fit the bill.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that would be more holy than an Aasimar. I mean, there are things that are planar. There are things that, kind of go into, some other directions. But clearly, Aasimar is the most holiest of races.
And for the Aasimar, you have 3 different sub-races. You have the Protector, you have the Scourge, and you have the Fallen. There's only one of them that makes me think, oh, the Heavens. It is definitely not the Scourge. And neither is it the Fallen as well.
So, definitely want to go with the Protector, but I would throw in the caveat that if you wanted to go down this road, each of these elements, could be, if you were looking to build a Fallen, you could say, look, I want to go down this road because I've screwed up. How can I make corrections? And, maybe if your GM's willing to worksman, you've got a character path laid out in front of you so that, maybe you're not Fallen anymore.
Yeah, you might be working on a redemption path. Now, one of the really cool things about the Aasimar is they get like this angel advisor as like one of their quirks. So I think that's really cool, and I think we can work that back in if we decide to go with Aasimar as our race, and we're leaning towards it because we want to build the holiest character. Also, we're going to need a background, and of all the backgrounds, one of them kind of stands out more than any of the others.
And that's obviously going to be Acolyte. You know, where else are you going to, get into piety and religion than to serve it daily as a background? So definitely going to go with Acolyte on this.
All right, so we're starting to build now. So I guess we'll get into it, and you guys can follow along on the character sheet or the guide. So Azamar, we're going to go Protector. That's going to give us bonuses to Charisma and Wisdom. After we hit a certain level, we get our Angel Wings and we can produce them. We're going to be able to get the Light Cantrip. We're going to get some healing. So we got some cool things going on. And then Acolyte, what are we going to get over there?
So Acolyte is going to give us access to Insight, Religion, and 2 languages. And because we already have Celestial, we tried to go with a little bit more of a neutral bent. So we went with Sylvan and Primordial.
With that, let's jump into our stats now, and then we'll start to really build this character.
All right, so for this standard array, we're just going to go in order. Strength, we're going to put a 15. Dexterity, we're going to put a 10. And our Constitution, we're going to put a 12.
For Intelligence, I'm going with an 8. Wisdom, a 13. And Charisma will be a 14. That's going to give us a 14 in Wisdom and a 16 in Charisma.
So the things that we had to look at when building this out, we definitely wanted a high charisma because Warlock, Sorcerer, and Paladin are all going to require that. And then if we want to put on, heavier armor, we definitely going to need that high strength as well. So those were the only requirements that we definitively wanted to have going in. As we talked and debated, what character classes we were going to use, Divine Soul Sorcerer actually gets the spells that we might want to use on their list from the Cleric. So they're really, unless there was a specific Cleric ability we were looking for, we really don't need to take Cleric.
And to be honest, when we're talking about the character themselves being holy, the Sorcerer origin where you actually more than likely have been divinely touched in some way. It's in your lineage. The Warlock Patron, where you are serving someone and you've taken basically you've made a pact or contract with one specific entity. Paladin, you're taking an oath. At that point, do we really need another obligation by being a cleric? So we felt like we had all those bases covered. So I guess let's jump into it and start building at level 1. Where are we going?
So this one, because we know that if we multi-class Paladin and we don't take it at first level, we're not going to get access to the heavier armor, and that's going to require a feat. And because we're looking at multiple classes, multiple useful stats, that's going to hurt us in the long run. So we figured we'd start off with Paladin. None of the classes are going to get access to more skills, so there's no love lost there. So we start off with Paladin.
And for the skills from Paladin, we're going to choose Medicine and Persuasion. So, we're starting to round out really nicely. This character's going to have interpersonal skills, be knowledgeable about religion, and also be able to help people.
So for our second level, we decided that we were going to go into Warlock. You had made mention that you would get this Angel Advisor. Well, what if that Angel Advisor was literally the one that we were able to make a pact with? And this ties this all together. It's like, oh, well, you've already set yourself along this path. Well, maybe I can offer you some extra divine power if, you sign your X on a dotted line. So you're going to get some wonderful things, spells and the like from Warlock.
Yes, we were going to get, a couple cantrips. One we already have, so it doesn't matter. Light, and we're going to get Sacred Flame as well, which we add to our list, not bad. We're going to get more healing. We get D6s that we can kind of distribute, so that's kind of nice, going along with everything else we have. And like you said, the flavor works really well, and it is another Charisma caster.
So for third level, we decided we were going to continue on. Well, let's just keep adding those classes so that we can get the things that we want to get access to. So we're going to take a level of Sorcerer. Sorcerers get their subclass right away, so we're going into Divine Soul, and we're going to select Law instead of, any of the others, specifically so that we can get the Bless spell.
So now we have the Bless spell added to our list, and now, not are we of, born of angels being an Azamar, not only have we, sworn an oath to the things that are holy and good, in addition to that, we've made a pact with our angel advisor. Now it turns out at some point in our line, or maybe us personally, has been exposed to divine energies, so we carry the spark of divinity within us.
So Right there, that's already saying quite a lot, and we've only made it the 3rd level. So pretty darn cool if you ask me.
Now, 4th level, we're going to take in Paladin, because that gives us 2nd level Paladin, which, like, Paladin is super heavy when it comes to abilities, you know, that they get at 2nd level.
You know, one of the main things that, you know, Paladins tend to do is they're going to use those spell slots to smite. They don't get that till 2nd level, so we've really had to hold back and wait. It was definitely hard deciding what levels to take what, but there is so much at 2nd that if we waited any longer, you know, we'd feel like we'd be, you know, pushed to the wayside on this ability.
All right, so we're going to jump back to Sorcerer for 2 levels, and the reason why is we want to get access to those Metamagic abilities and those sorcery points so that we can have way more flexibility with our casting. When we, you know, take that 3rd level in Sorcerer, yeah, that's going to give us access to those Metamagics, and we are going to take Quicken and Empower. Empower lets us re-roll some of our dice if we don't like them when we do damage. We can also use it in combination with other Metamagics. And Quicken is we get to cast spells as a bonus action. So we're going to have a lot of options with this particular character.
So what we could do is we could use the, you know, use your bonus action to cast one of your smite spells that you could then empower. Doing so will allow you to, you know, re-roll those damage, and since it's only one particular point to empower your spells, it's really, really useful here. And the other thing is, you know, the levels of Sorcerer give you those sorcery points that you can fuel into slots if you're going smite crazy.
Yeah, or if you decide to, you know, maybe you want to use that bonus action for Green Flame Blade, do extra damage, and then in addition to that, well, we could still smite on top of it if we wanted to. So it just gives us flexibility for this particular character where we can do some pretty nasty combos.
All right, now we're going to wind up taking 2 levels of Warlock. This is going to give us access to our first bit of invocations, as well as access to our Pact. Or a Pact boon, which we're clearly going to take Pact of the Blade. It's going to, you know, work best for our invocations. We're looking at Fiendish Vigor for those extra hit points, as well as Eyes of the Runekeeper. We didn't really feel that anything else completely fit, so being able to read everything could just be a, you know, a celestial gift that has been given to us.
So now we're going to jump back to Paladin for 3 levels because there's a bunch of stuff that we want to get out of there. You know, one, we're going to get to pick our oath, right? And we're going to take devotion because, well, we feel like that's the holiest of all of them. We are going to get an ASI, so we're going to put that ability stat increase into charisma, bumping that to an 18, and then we are going to get that extra attack, which is great. Now, if we were to use a bonus action to cast one of our attack cantrips, like Green Flame Blade, we can now attack 3 times in a round with our greatsword if we wanted to.
You know, now I will say as a caveat, if you decided to go with the alternate version of this and go with your Fallen, as opposed to taking Oath of Devotion, you could go with your Oath of Redemption to kind of feel, you know, that whole side out. Everything else would wind up being the same. All right, so for next few levels, you know, we're actually, you know, really diving down on improving our stats. So we're going to take a level of Sorcerer, so that brings us up to 4. That's going to give us an ASI. That's going to bump our Charisma up to 20. Then we're going to go to 4th level in Warlock, giving us another ASI, which now we're going to take our Strength up to 17. Since we just took another level of Warlock, we might as well take another one to get access to another invocation, and for this one we've got Eldritch Smite so that we can now double down on just dumping those sheer amount of dice on the table.
Yeah, so now we can use any spell slot to smite with from Paladin, or we can specifically, and we could use the Warlock spell slots to do an Eldritch Smite as well. So now we're really starting to pile up the damage. Now you could combine that with a Smite spell as well to do even more damage.
So you cast your Smite spell as a bonus action. You roll those attack rolls. Hopefully you've got an ally that's, you know, giving you a hand, or you've got some way to get advantage. You get that crit, and then you smite with Paladin, you smite with Warlock, and you just dump a whole crap ton of dice on that table.
So, as we mentioned, we did a couple levels of Warlock. Well, we're going to do one more and be done with it. The reason why we wanted to end at this level is because we get Radiant Soul for the Warlock, which means we can add our Charisma modifier to any spell that we cast that has fire or radiant damage into it. Now you only get to do it to one target, but still there's some cool things that you can add with that, especially like, hey, like I keep mentioning, you know, quickening that green flame blade. Well, that would be fire damage. That would be adding your charisma to that attack as well for damage. It's not bad.
So an extra 5 points of damage to that, you know, definitely worth the investment.
I mean, if you were to use your sacred weapon in addition to that, that would be +5 to hit and +5 to damage.
All right, so for our next 2 levels, we're going to dive into Sorcerer. Not only are we going to be able to pad out those spell slots that we're now apparently chewing through like candy, but we're also going to get access to empowered healing, which is going to allow us to, you know, be able to heal more, which is great for what it is that we can do.
But not only that too, you're also going to get a couple more sorcery points. Really, the Sorcerer, the biggest boon we're getting from there, I would say, is those slots as well as those sorcery points, because like you said, we're going to go through a lot of them fairly fast. And we want to do cool things, but we have them so we can use them. Now we're going to finish off our build with 3 more levels of Paladin. We're going to get our final ASI, but instead of dumping it into a stat, we're going to take a feat and take Great Weapon Master, because now we can add a +15 to damage when we attack. You know, if we were to use that green flame blade in conjunction, you slap on your sacred weapon. In addition to that, totally wipes out the -5 from Great Weapon. It's a great combo. Unfortunately, it's going to take us a long time to get it, but depending on how you do this build, because you can tweak it and change it around, you could get it a lot sooner.
Yeah, we're also going to get our Aura of Protection and our Aura of Devotion. This is going to allow allies within 10 feet, adding that +5 from our Charisma to their saving throws, as well as allies that are within 10 feet can't be charmed. So, pretty nice.
Not bad at all. So that is our most holy character build. How would you build it? Love to hear about it. You can, again, check it out on the character sheet as well as the character build guide.
Wait, before you know, you start getting into the wrap up, whenever we do these character build guides and give all these players these great resource tools, what about our DMs out there, man?
Well, that's true. The CBG, we always include a NPC that you can use in your game. So the question is, how do we use this one? Because this is a really, really good guy or gal, as the case may be.
Well, so whenever you have this concept of holier than thou, you can take it too far. So this could potentially be a good guy that has spurred people wrong, and you have to protect him because I'm holier than thou. That means I might be better than you, and therefore there's people that are after him because of this. Or it could be just, you know, maybe he's, you know, been affected by something and he has been, you know, turned against those who he is sworn to protect. You not only do you have to defeat him, but you have to not kill him so that he can be cured of whatever, you know, ailment or thing that's afflicting him.
Yeah, there's that. There's also the idea that this particular person is persecuting people. Perhaps they're persecuting other warlocks because they're unholy and unclean. Perhaps they're persecuting tieflings because they believe them to be of their fiendish origin and must be dealt with. You know, maybe they even persecute other Azamars that are fallen and scourge varieties. So they've actually become a threat to individuals in the game. Maybe even people that are player characters in the game as well. So that could definitely be a route to go. So
if you've got, you know, characters that are in the party that are on either one of those things that you mentioned, or a more neutral or, you know, evil alignment, or maybe even some of the actions that they've taken, this character has presented themselves as, look, you know, you are on the wrong path. I am here to, you know, steer you back. So perhaps when a group or a player is creating problems at the table, perhaps this is the solution.
Yeah, for your murder hobos, the anti-murder hobo. Well, that's a good point as well. But hey, did you like this build? If you did, there's another one right here. Check out our Inflict Wounds character build. It's on the other end of the spectrum.
If you want more 5e content, you might want to support us over on Patreon.
That isn't all. We do monthly giveaways that our patrons are automatically entered in, as well as weekly hangouts for patrons only, and more.
So until next time, stay nerdy.